I don't know if this would make too much sense to anybody, but I'm going to give it a go. If you are nothing more than a chemical makeup, if that's what DNA is a mixture of different peptides and proteins that create experiences that we put text, stories to that experience, then we're like hearing stories of how life should be from our parents. When my parents were abusive, they learned to be abused because of how their parents treated them. Um, so it brings to um, my awareness of what creates crime. And all of my life, just because of getting beaten when you're a kid, I've been really, really affected by any form of child abuse. Um, Seeing a kid, you know, tortured and murdered, and we walk around and say, why do you think that's happening? Now, it's almost as if we can't wrap our brains around knowing this happens, and then you go about your day. And nobody's actually putting a stop to it. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations, but it's never stopped. Nobody's understanding the behavior. And it is that war mentality of, I'll throw this stone and the other guy will throw another stone, which causes the other guy to throw another stone. It's just a back and forth um, anger game. And there's no understanding because there's nothing worse than to see, you know, a man have sex with a baby. Like, that's just really, really sick behavior. I would be totally against that. You would think that, jail never let them out of into society ever again. But when you actually think the causes, what would cause somebody to actually do that? Well, we're tape recorders. It's learned behavior. You could see it in your society, get the idea, get a really warped sense of reality when you're two and see, pornography on an internet and think it's normal behavior, and then you act out that, and then somehow you're going to say something's wrong with this person. And it's like, we kind of knew censorship was a bit important, but we wanted to have the right to say whatever we wanted to say. But should we really be doing some of the things that we're doing? If it leads to some people are going to get a weird idea of how to express life. Most people that are sexual abusers have been sexually abused themselves, and nobody's bothered to care. So while you see this big horrible act being done onto this child and you have all of that compassion, trust without a doubt, all of humanity says, oh my God, isn't that bad? Somebody should stop it. And then you walk on by. And nobody's healing these kids that are being sexually abused. No doctor actually knows how to feel it, how to heal something like that. And that's the root of the problem. There is such a lack of love because it's so it's one of the biggest industries on our planet is a sex trade industry. And it's a sign of a lack of love. And because we don't know how to love something that we hate, we don't know how to deal with it. And then it grows. And so basically, it's like, picture in your mind that little kid that you are feeling really bad just got, tortured and oh my God, that's bad. And then you see that child, you feel bad, but nobody's doing anything. And then when that child gets to be, 16 and does that behavior to somebody else, then you're going to think something's wrong. I just can't wrap my brain around a child that has suffered that much and the victim is made a victim for the rest of his life because the victim is automatically the next criminal. I don't know if I can express the words so anybody else can hear, but the way we have jails is actually perpetuating crime. Charles Manson is a freaking genius. And he was very self-aware that society was creating the man that he is. And it's like, if you wanted something different in society, you wouldn't treat me the way you treat me. But what society has made him endure had so much hate because nobody cared. That he didn't give a shit whether he killed anybody because nobody gave a shit whether they were killing him. And he was jailed for the rest of his life for, doing something that's horrible. But the man needs to be heard. And nobody's really listening. They're just like big story, but nobody's ever thought to really understand what Charles Manson is trying to say. And it's like, wake up your society because there's more of me out there, and what he's done, there's, how many other people are out there doing worse than what Charles Manson has ever done. He's just really, really brilliant, and nobody can understand him, and they don't want anybody to understand him, so they keep him completely locked up. Um, I don't know, that's quite the story, but um, there was another point I wanted to make regarding this. Oh, geez, I lost my train of thought of what I wanted to say. I mean, it had to do with the justice system. Oh, I can't remember. Damn. But anyways, that is, uh, if we want to live in a peaceful world, we really, really got to look at how we heal and look at behaviors that create it. And it takes unconditional love for your enemy, because as soon as you kill another person, you're asking for an enemy to kill you. So that perpetuates this game of hell. So the creation of heaven, the only way to get there is you've got to really, really love your absolute enemy. You've got to understand where they're coming from. Um, it does get right down to, if everything is chemical and it shapes who you are, how you have your experiences. If you go back, I've said this before, that twins sharing the same DNA at birth, if checked 50 years later, their DNA is different, and it's different because of their experiences they have. So every day you're having an experience, whatever you're replaying, an addictive thought, if you're feeling really, really depressed and can't pull yourself out of a depression, you're going to create a certain chemical addiction to that thought that will replay like a record over and over and over again. And it's like, you got to ask yourself some better questions to jump out of that circle. Um, and every one of us that are experiencing these challenges, you are asking for it because it is what will take for you to evolve into something completely different. Right down to the color of your eyes is related to It's the chemical makeup, the chemical experiences that you have make the colors of your eyes. So some people that have blue eyes like me have something in common with what they feel and how they perceive their world on a regular basis chemically. So I do think that the most powerful people on the planet would be more brown eyes, because I do believe they've suffered a lot more. And it's a genetic pattern. And just because of slavery, and I think people that are darker skinned, um, and the slavery issue and who's bigger and better than anybody else just because of it, you look different. I think if we learn our biggest lessons from the biggest challenges, it's that culture that appears to have had the most suffering. And to have that level of suffering means you hold the potential to have more answers than anybody else can offer. Um, I would only be a small window into what's really going on, but the prophecies that one would get if they were of color and could be really self aware and ask questions from a completely unconditional love perspective. Really try and understand your enemy. Put yourself in your enemy's shoes and say, what would it take for me to act exactly like that and have it all make sense? When you can, that is the biggest trick in the universe, is put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and you being as smart as you are, what would make you act exactly that way and have it seem okay? Now, this was the thought that I forgot and now remember. This is one thing that I find totally insane and always have. But if anybody commits murder, aren't they mentally ill? If all of human life was designed to live forever, then to kill another human being, and we are this oneness, is like killing yourself. So it's more a mental illness. It's like all Bibles are saying it's the wrong thing. Everybody on the planet says it's the wrong thing to do to kill another human being. So why in the world would you not be insane if you kill another person? It don't even matter if you're self-aware. If you're self-aware and do it, something's mentally wrong with you. Because why would you hurt yourself or hurt another like that? You must be mentally ill no matter what the reasoning. But that's the deal. That's the question, is who's reasoning that death is okay in some circumstances? Oh, like war? Like, heaven is around the corner, but it'll only happen if we start putting our guns down. Anybody that's got a gun and thinking that you got an enemy, you are your enemy's enemy, and you're only perpetuating your own hell, and you're not creating the heaven that you're supposed to create. So it's like everybody's got to put their guns down and start learning how to communicate with unconditional love and put yourself in your enemy's shoes, and do not consider in any way, shape, or form murder, killing anybody else is the answer to anything. Because as soon as you justify killing somebody else is the second you find insanity is an acceptable social behavior. And while we think that we are the ones that know how a society should be run, we're actually saying murder is actually a good thing in some cases, although we all agree it's the worst possible thing you could do on the planet. It is a mental illness for even these judges to think in any way, shape, or form murder is acceptable. And to kill a murderer on death row is even more insane. To have wars is insane. So it's like check yourself. Because to me, I don't make any logic sense out of saying something is like the worst possible thing, but it's okay sometimes. I think you're mentally ill, even to just believe in that. So I think it's a way of getting off. Plead mentally ill if you ever murder anybody until you solve the social problems that create murder. Peace out.